going to get started. Like I said, we're going to go over kind of how the menstrual cycle works, because again, I think we kind of skip over this in health class quite a bit when we are, whenever we're in school. I feel like we didn't go over it as much as we needed to, and it's something that happens to you every month, so it's a good thing to understand. So of course, the menstrual cycle happens every single month. It lasts on average about 28 days to 31 days. So some women may have a little bit longer, may have a little bit shorter. It just kind of varies from woman to woman. And typically we split the menstrual cycle into 2 different phases. Some people go even further in there and do 4 phases, but we'll just keep it simple and we're going to do 2 phases. So the follicular phase and the luteal phase, you'll hear me talk about a lot during this stream. And for the sake of this conversation, there are a ton of hormones that play into the menstrual cycle, but we're just going to focus on 2 of them. And those are estrogen and progesterone. And estrogen and progesterone are really, they are the big players when it comes to affecting your insulin sensitivity. So estrogen tends to make you a little bit more sensitive to insulin, which is great. We love estrogen. Progesterone is responsible for those higher blood sugars before your period. It is a very resistant causing hormone in our bodies. So that's what we're kind of going to focus on as I'm going through these. So the follicular phase is the first phase in the cycle. It lasts from day 1 to day 14, and you know that it's beginning because it is the start of your period. So the day that your period begins, you see the bright red bleeding. You're probably not excited about it, but your period is here. And that is the start of our follicular phase. So during this time, what your body is doing is it's getting ready to ovulate, which will be when we're going to release an egg. So you're going to start out during menstruation very low hormone levels, and then as it builds up towards ovulation, estrogen is going to be increasing to a peak up until ovulation. So those high levels of estrogen, you're going to see that insulin sensitivity, as well as it's going to affect some of your testosterone levels. So you may notice higher sex drive. You have a lot more energy during this time. It's a good time to work out in a more high intensity kind of capacity, because you're just going to be feeling super awesome during this time in your cycle. So that's kind of what's going on. So the follicle is in your fallopian tube, or your it's where your ovaries are, and it is the structure that's responsible for producing estrogen. Okay, so we're getting a bunch of estrogen, and then we'll peak at ovulation, and that's when our luteal phase begins. So this is the second half of our cycle. It starts on the 14th day, and it is basically when we ovulate. That's when an egg is released. Okay, so we have our peak estrogen, and that estrogen is going to start to decrease now because our follicle is done producing estrogen. It's actually going to turn into some other structure called the corpus luteum. You can kind of think luteum. And now it is responsible for producing the hormone progesterone, which, as you may recall, is what causes a lot of insulin resistance in our bodies. But it is also the hormone that prepares our body for pregnancy, if that is where we're headed, which your body believes we are headed there every month. So that's why that's happening.